Hello and welcome to Spinster's Library. I'm Claudia, it's Thursday, I'm bloody tired, and I'm taking you with me on my workday today. The reason why I've decided to vlog today, to be honest, I'm not even sure if I'm going to upload this, but mainly is because I need some motivation. I am so ridiculously tired. Because my lovely cats, who I love very much, like my own dear children, kept me up all night. Why? I don't know. Gotta ask them. What do you have to say for yourself? I got myself some coffee, second of the day. Alright, let me tell you what I'm doing today then. The reason why I wanted to film today, other than just to keep me awake, is because at the moment, for my PhD, I'm studying some really interesting stuff that's kind of related to Jane Austen July. So for that, I'm actually reading Emma by Jane Austen. And I started reading this yesterday evening in bed, so not very academically, but today I'm going to read it armed with these little flags, where I will be marking passages related to musical performance or education in Emma, because that's the sort of intersection that I'm looking at the moment. And as a companion to that, I'm also reading, as you can see, I've read quite a bit of that already, The Schooling of Girls in Britain and Ireland, 1800 to 1900 by Jane McDermid. And I also have, just in order to understand a little bit more of how music and education are interpreted in Emma from a more literature studies kind of perspective, I've got The Cambridge Companion to Emma, edited by Peter Saber. So this is my reading for today, and I'm actually looking forward to this because when do you get to read novels and call it research? That's pretty cool, right? However, there's also, of course, a more boring side to the day-to-day other than just reading Emma and calling it research, and that is the non-fiction primary source that I'm currently studying, and this is a conduct book titled An Inquiry into the Duties of the Female Sex by Thomas Gisborne. So this is from 1797, and Jane Austen herself has referenced this book in her letters, so she knew the book, she'd read the book, and this will give me another perspective on how women were supposed to behave in around 1800, with particular focus again on music and musical education. That's not easy to read, a book like that. I'm looking at this on Google Books, so I'm reading it off a screen. The print is kind of crappy, the sentences are 3 pages long, and I'm taking notes as I go along. So these are my 3 tasks for the day. The one is to get considerably further into an inquiry into the duties of the female sex. I'm currently on page 118, and if you've ever read a primary source book like that, it's not really reading it to absorb every sentence. You're more kind of skim reading it to find specific bits that are relevant to your research. But still, I'm hoping to go through another 100 or 200 pages of that today. Then to read as much into Emma as I fancy. This is definitely the more pleasant, lighter part of my day-to-day. And alongside that, to see what I can get out of these 2 accompanying books. And finally, to continue the writing, the paper/essay/whatever on musical education around 1800 that I'm currently working on. I'm hoping to get between 500 and 1,000 words done, which is quite ambitious for me. I'm a very slow writer. There you go, just telling you that. Made me feel a little bit more awake, though could have been the coffee as well. I actually put sugar in my coffee today. I never put sugar in my coffee, but I feel like I need a little bit of extra glucosey energy boost. So I'll start with the more difficult part, which is the conduct book and writing up maybe 300-400 words. And then reading Emma is going to be my treat for later on. Look at this stupid little thing there. Minerva always sits on that spot on the floor because it's usually a patch of sunlight at this time in the morning. But not today, Minerva. It's a pretty grey day today, isn't it? You're being very optimistic. I'm still in the middle of reading and writing notes on the Thomas Gisborne book, and what's struck me is that a lot of the arguments that he brings, a lot of his restrictions on women's behaviour and women's occupation, a lot of the rules that he poses for young women are not all that different from what people in 2019 say. I'm especially struck by some of his arguments about young women copying fashions or young women conforming to trends. He, at the same time, argues that women should conform to standards of dress, while simultaneously saying that it is immoral to copy fashions. Now, when I say millennials to you, does that argument sound familiar? How many times do we read in the media today, millennials follow this stupid trend, but at the same time they all want to be individuals? And you think, well, what am I supposed to do? On the one hand, I'm supposed to conform to societal standards. On the other hand, I'm supposed to not follow trends. Yeah, those things are kind of mutually exclusive, so you have to make your mind up about what my generation is actually supposed to do. And in the Thomas Gisborne book, this is specifically applied to women because it is called An Inquiry on the Duties of the Female Sex. So this man is telling young women what to do and what not to do with contradictory advice. And again, that made me think about how a lot of the things that today's media and today's society attributes to millennials is actually a hidden form of misogyny, because a lot of the time what they really mean is not young people, but young women. When we say young people are using too much social media or young people are exhibiting themselves on Instagram, what they really mean is young girls and young women. So the message I got from my research today is damned if you do, damned if you don't. 200 years ago, as much as today. It's lunchtime! Finally, I've spent the entire morning reading the Thomas Gisborne book. I've made good progress, so I think I'm going to leave it at that for today. And after lunch, I'm going to move on to the Jane Austen focused research. Now, you know how in blogs, when people show their lunches, they're usually really colourful and delicious looking and healthy. You also know how I'm quite tired today. This is my lunch. Alright? Yes. I am a secret 7-year-old, so I'm having nuggets for lunch. These are the Quorn meatless chicken style nuggets, and they're absolutely delicious. And because I was joking, I am a grown-up, I'm having them with chutney instead of ketchup. This is an mango and apricot chutney. I also have some vegetables, to be fair. Oh, balls, oh no. I've just poured vinegar all over my laptop. Back in a moment. Ah, the dangers of vlogging. What I was about to say, and I'm going to try and do this again without tipping the plate this time. With my nuggets, I'm having some green beans. And for a bit of a Spinster's Kitchen segment here, I really like using frozen vegetables, generally speaking, but specifically for when I work from home, because who's got time to trim, wash, you know, a ton of green beans when you can get them frozen and they're super fresh. They're mostly fresher than when you get them actually fresh, and they're already pre-trimmed. So I just sauteed them in a bit of olive oil and then covered them in salt, pepper and balsamic vinegar. And that reminded me of a video that I saw recently, I will link that down below, of Mel from Mel's Bookland Adventure. She did a video with her English husband Anthony, she herself is German, about German food and mostly his disgust at any German food. But they were talking about how Germans really like acidic foods, sour foods, and I recognized myself in that. I like vinegar, I like lemon juice, I like really acidic flavors. Sauerkraut, love it. So yeah, I basically just soaked these beans in balsamic vinegar, and I'm very much looking forward to eating that, which, by the way, you don't have to see, so I'll see you after lunch. Lunch was pretty good, thank you for asking. I'm now ready to tackle the second half of the day. I am still incredibly tired. Eating fake chicken nuggets didn't exactly help with that, but I'm trying really hard not to make myself another cup of coffee. So I've decided to switch up location and do my reading here in the living room. I get a nice bit of light coming in from the windows on this side of the house, and I prefer working in natural light rather than having to turn on the lights in my office. So because I'm incredibly tired, I'm going to do the fun reading now. I'm going to read the first few chapters of Emma. Well, actually I'm 2 or 3 chapters in already, so I'm just going to continue reading. And I've got my little sticky flags here, which I'll use to mark passages that I want to examine further and that I want to write about and that I want to cite. I also have the companion to Emma here, so I'll probably alternate between reading the book and then reading a chapter of this. This is a really wonderful book. All the Cambridge companions are very well put together. Reference works, really. They are very beginner friendly. I'm not a literature student. I've never studied literature or English language or anything like that. So I'm coming to this as someone from a completely different academic discipline. But these are generally so well written that even a lay person like me can understand and follow and get a lot of value out of the Cambridge Companion. So I will relax a bit and read Jane Austen. Beetle, hello. Having a good time? Okay, so I'm a bit further in Emma and I finished a chapter in the Cambridge Companion, and I think I'm going to leave it there for today. It's now 4 o'clock. I started this morning at 9, so that's a fairly typical day for me. Just to remind you, or if you're not aware, I'm a part-time PhD student, so I work around about 6 to 7 hours on 4 days of the week on my PhD, and then the other 3 days I work in retail. So I feel like I've accomplished stuff today, not as much as I'd like, but if there's one thing I've learned working by myself, for myself, it's that I never, ever, ever, ever check off all of my to-do list. I'm always too optimistic at the start of the day, but that's fine, because what I don't do today, I'll just do tomorrow. Now, I'm going to go off and bake some bread now, because I got a sudden craving for homemade bread. you know, being German and all. And then I'll just relax. Maybe I'll do some more reading in Emma. It's kind of cool that I can call this research, but it's also definitely reading for fun. The cats are getting hungry. They are watching me with hungry eyes, so they want their lunch now as well. Are you hungry? Shall we get you some wet food?